a couple of minutes. I know I only have a couple of minutes, and so it's a big conversation. The work of audience development, loyalty building, bringing back audiences is never done. We all know that. And oftentimes it's dictated by staff bandwidth and marketing bandwidth and all that. But I do have a couple of things maybe to share with you that will tell you a little bit about how it is that we in Seattle are experiencing this. First of all, I wanted to say that, pre-COVID, a lot of our work was based on a budget where tickets paid for artist fees. And one of the things that we've discovered since is that we have to build in partnerships, sometimes financial partnerships, that actually guarantee that we actually can healthfully present a program and guarantee audience will attend from an organization that has an investment in your program. So a lot of legwork has happened long in advance to create strategic partnerships. These are nothing new, but it just feels like it's become so much more prevalent and important. And I will share, and I'm happy to talk about it, but one example of the herky-jerky nature of the return of audiences is that one partnership brought 1,200 people in one day to our JCC. We had never seen anything like this. Now, there were programs that were getting 5 people, 50 people, but 1,200 people. So I feel like I'm happy to talk about that more maybe during the panel, but a lot of it also has to do with the fact that the our JCC changed its mission also since COVID. It's about augmenting and amplifying engaging Jewish experiences for every generation, which meant suddenly Arts and Ideas was doing family programming, which we hadn't done a lot of. And so we realized actually family programming is intergenerational. And so we had senior centers and we had kids. And this is what a 1,200 person came to look like, was that all generations wanted to attend this program. I poo-pooed it because I'm all about authors and chefs and all these kind of things, but actually it's become a core part of our programming. And really what JCC's needed to deliver was this core family programming as a real substratum of what we do. I don't know how much more time I have, but I have 2 more points and then can go into some details. I think what I've discovered also for our film festival, which I will talk about more in the breakout session, is, there's a lot of strategies, but we have double of our in-person attendance, but 20% of people still continue to say they'll never show up in person. So we're managing the surveying of our community, and we need to keep surveying them. And this is now a program that we're trying to do to keep engaging them after every program to figure out what our stakeholders want. And I think overall, I'm learning a bunch of stakeholder audience tools to gain loyalty, because this is really about loyalty and bringing people back. And I want to strategize more with all of you about layered experiences. And so what we're discovering is the programs people are coming to, the Wi-Fi world of programming is there's got to be food, music, arts and crafts, something on stage, conversations, workshops. And I have some examples, but I know that I probably am going to get a 30-second in just a moment, but those layered experiences have been one of our biggest challenges. We used to be able to just present something on a proscenium stage and wash our hands and run a good event. And now all of a sudden we have an hour beforehand with a workshop, with a beatbox workshop for kids and, crafts here and food and catering and music and klezmer. And suddenly this layered experience is luring people back in, but the amount of bandwidth and work that it takes to actually run that when our staff bandwidth is often very low. So I think my final point here is that we're getting more ambitious about our programs. We do live streaming, we do virtual, and yet the staffing bandwidth, the marketing bandwidth seems to be less. And so I think one of the biggest strategies overall is how to continue to do all that work and deliver these programs, which are now double the work with half the staffing and half the marketing bandwidth.
Pamela, thank you so much. That's amazing. Franny, we'd love to hear about what's happening in Cincinnati.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Franny, you can call me Franny, Francis Kahan. I'm at the Mayerson JCC in Cincinnati, Ohio. We, just to share a little bit about our community, medium-sized, probably JCC on the spectrum of everyone here and the communities you come from. But we have a really strong Jewish community, obviously experiencing, engagement, challenges and successes like everyone else. So I don't, I'm not advising in the sense that like everything will work for everyone, and we all have our own struggles, but I think it's such a great collective here to be able to engage and discuss, and that's what this group is really about. So happy to share about RJ. We are navigating sort of all of the formats of programming. We have returned to in-person for a number of programs, and that's really great to see. We have returned with some of our annual programs, which I think, speaking about audience building and engagement, having something that is familiar, something that is, has built up value and that the community responds to, and having that type of annual programming is really wonderful, because people want to come back to that when they've been gone from it or it's been virtual over the pandemic. So we have Under One Roof, which a number of you have heard about over the years and have hopefully, adapted in your own ways. I know I've spoken to different cities that have used it. It's a community art exhibit celebrating Sukkot in our communal sukkah at the JCC. So that's like a very long-standing program over a decade now that is really interactive in different ways with the community and brings in Jewish and non-Jewish partners and builds relationships. It's a great touch point. I'm happy to share more about that program, but that's really wonderful. We, for example, also are doing virtual programming. We started our sort of dedicated book series. We've done author events in the past, but we started a book series, which ended up being the first year of the pandemic. So it ended up being virtual only, which is not what we had originally planned, but we pivoted to, and we've kept it virtual. And we're continuing that in a virtual capacity. Some of that is because of resources, which is another conversation, as Pamela said, in different ways. But it does maintain engagement. Other virtual programs that were very strong during the pandemic, we've had a few different educational series over the last few years. Some of them were very strong. Some of them now are less well attended, smaller groups coming in for those different programs. So assessing, the content, the timing, where we're losing people, is it virtual fatigue, the format, and what is conducive to virtual versus in person. So we can talk more about those things, but I think assessing all the factors is, something we're always doing to see where we can improve. But I think virtual right now really needs that in terms of some of our arts and culture programming, or arts and ideas programming, as we call it. And then we are doing hybrid as well. Our film festival is currently hybrid. What does hybrid mean, and to what community, is the bigger conversation as well. But we've gone through different conversations to see what works for us, for our budget, for our staffing, for our calendar. So we have currently a film festival that is sort of half and half in person, half virtual or streaming. And there are a lot of details in there and what that looks like. But I think the goal is really just to try things, to see what works. We like to survey, we like to get community feedback. Our film festival is hybrid because that's what our community asked for. So, really kind of continuing some of the themes from Pamela, but trying to continue what works, assess and pivot with what maybe is not working anymore, but maybe worked during, the first couple of years of COVID, but people are in a different place now, trying to meet them where they are as much as possible. I've probably gone on too long. I just want to say staffing is always a difficult thing with transitions and, such sometimes challenging and changing times. I want to give a shout out to Wynn Garfinkel-Plymesser, who's on the call, recently came onto the arts team at RJ and has been doing a great job as we've sort of shifted some of our structure. And she's been working really hard on the programs, and it's great to have teams. It's great to have a collaborative marketing team. I know not everyone has all of those resources. So I'm happy to talk more, but generally that's an overview.
Thank you so much, Franny. Lev, we'd love to hear about what's happening in Indianapolis.
Sure. I'm the Director of Arts and Education at the JCC of Indianapolis. We have approximately 9,000 members, of which over 2/3 are not Jewish. So we have to pay attention to that. Our events, basically, we cut the cord pretty early on because we found that either we could have successful in-person events, or we could have events that are far less successful that were hybrid. So our events basically are all in person. Right now, we are at approximately 90% of attendance of what we had pre-pandemic, although we've had to make some serious changes. We have a lot of free programs right now. Our programming this year pays special attention to social justice, to DEI, and especially to anti-Semitism, although our goals are to educate, to entertain, and to inspire. So we do throw entertainment certainly into that also. We have 14 events during our Ann Katz Festival of Books and Arts, which is from mid-October to mid-November, and we have about twice as many events throughout the year. As far as our successes, we continue finding successes in collaborations, both collaborations within the Jewish community and also collaborations within the Indianapolis community. And that continues to grow, and it pays off big time. We have been successful in fundraising, which is very important because given the fact that we are not charging very much, or we're not charging anything for our programs, the best way to make up for that is fundraising. And it kind of works hand in hand because we explain to our funders, we're not charging, therefore we need your help. And they understand that, and they've come forward. I think our biggest challenge is to continue to build that audience, and also in building diversity in audience, both in age and in race. And we've worked on that. I know we could do much better. So that's what we are in a nutshell here in Indianapolis.
Thank you so much, Lev. Phyllis, turning it over to you.
Thanks. Phyllis Wolf. I'm in Albuquerque at the JCC. I've been there 18 years, started as program director and am chief programs officer. This is going to be brief because my colleagues did such a great job of covering a lot of what I had to share. I will just say that I remember way back at the beginning of the pandemic, somebody possibly in one of these cohort gatherings said, you know, the virtual genie is out of the bottle. Don't be so quick to stuff it back in. And I think what I've observed is we are pivoting, like my colleagues have said, to about 90% in person. The audience is not as willing to come back out as they had been. We just completed our film fest, and I would say where I used to get 180 to 200 for a film screening, I'm now getting 100 to 120. What we've done to address that is we did make a virtual option available in a time-limited fashion. Once the in-person screening started, people had 24 hours if they opted as ticket holders, but they had to pay the same price, etc. Our biggest success really continues to be doing fabulous programming that people love and are excited about, and spread the word about, word to mouth. And let me see if there's anything else I want to add that hasn't been said. The only thing I would say is with our author series that is about to start in a couple of weeks, what we're doing is we're having all in-person authors. This will be the first year that we're bringing all our authors back in. We are offering a recording of our in-person events after the fact, so we're not diluting audience share during the events. And that's about it.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. Kimberly, turning it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for that. I really appreciate it. One of the things that in hearing your remarks had me thinking about is I think Phyllis, Lev, and maybe Franny as well alluded to partnerships and groups. So, you know, if we're not selling, I love this idea because it helps build and seed an audience. And so I thought if we could just give our colleagues an idea of who we might reach out to, if you could give some examples of where we find these partners and these groups and how we're strategic about linking them to the right project. I would love to hear your thoughts.
I can just very briefly say that we partner with the New Mexico Holocaust Museum. We do several joint programs with them, but we also ask them to invite their members to join us in programming that is relevant. The New Mexico Jewish Historical Society, obviously the congregations, and then we also partner with the university here in town, and of course we use a variety of media outlets to engage the entire community. Like Lev, and I don't know how many on the call this is true of, but our JCC is about 75% non-Jewish. So we're always balancing, cultural programs through a Jewish lens that have universal appeal and will be attractive to non-Jews who are JCC members and also out in the community.
I'd like to, as I said, we partner both with Jewish organizations such as the ADL, the Jewish Community Relations Council, but fortunately we also partner with organizations such as the Indianapolis Chamber Orchestra, the Heartland Film Festival here in Indianapolis, various synagogues, just a lot of groups, international violin competition. And quite frankly, at this point, I would say 70% of our new partners actually come to us. And I guess we have built a reputation around the city. And so we're very fortunate on that. But we also find that if we call an organization and want to speak to them about partnering, they're always very eager to speak to us. That's something I learned very, very early on in my 17-year tenure here at the JCC. So people reach out to us, but it started with us reaching out to them.
I just wanted to say, maybe structurally speaking, that partnership, there are different kinds of partnerships, right? And the work that's never done is the kind of shooting out community engagement, like put this on your Facebook page, here's a promo code, put it on 2 Facebook, like those ones. But real partnerships take a long time to develop, right? And so you can have everything up the scale, which is literally, I have 8-page LOUs because nobody likes a partner where you don't have clear understanding. I think it's really important for all of us to have a basic LOU, a letter of understanding, or an MOU. I'm happy to share mine because I've wound up with partnerships with, Town Hall in Seattle, the Paramount Theater, to the local day school. And some of them have financial investments. They'll put $5,000 down in order for us to afford a program. So I just want to say that outreach partnerships are the most basic touch points, and that work is never done. Often there's a dedicated staff person that literally will shoot out to baseball teams, parenting groups. Like that is very easy, but takes a lot of emailing. We often use our front desk. I'll give them a list and say, here's an email, shoot it out 1,000,000 times because some of us don't have staffing to do that. And then there are partnerships that people are actually investing in your program, right? They're paying you $350 to own a film in your film festival, or they're paying you $5,000 in order for you to afford 3 shows of the Maccabees for Hanukkah. So I just want to say that coming up with your partnership models and having a clear one sheet of understanding what they look like is a really great way to move somebody from a tacit partner to an invested partner and get some financial support for your programs. And then they're really invested in the success of your program.
Thank you, Pamela. I think we'll send that out when we send the recap to this email. So if you send it to me, and we'll also put it on Joy is saying we can post it on the peer community page as well. So we appreciate any resources. Also, I do see that questions are coming in from the chat. So panelists, if you see those when you're not speaking, feel free to address those now or after our breakout sessions. I wanted to we're going to have one last quick question, but the other theme that came up in your talking was that resources can be tight and challenging. So I'm wondering if there's one simple audience building strategy you can recommend that does not take a lot of manpower. What can you do that makes a difference without a lot of resource? Anybody want to take that one?
I actually was going to just say something really quickly that I think ties the two together.
Sure.
I think partners are resources. They expand your resources, they expand your network, they expand, your bandwidth in different ways. So if you're looking to partner, I think it's about what you need, but also about what they need. And so if you can find partners that connect to programs because of content or because of what that gap is that you're missing or they're needing, and you can both lift each other up. I think that's what makes a really successful partnership. And I think that helps support resources as well. And kind of to what Lev's point, and I think I'm quoting Randy here, if you don't ask, you don't get. So the worst that can happen is that you ask someone if they're interested in working with you in some capacity. And you can shape that and see if you can get somewhere where you can partner together. And if not, you put it out there and you've tried something, and maybe there's another opportunity that fits better down the line.
Pamela.
Well, I was just going to bullet point these off, but these are things we're trying to implement that we can do, because a lot of the times the post-show experience is left to us as program managers, right? The front end, you have marketing giving you, and I hate to call it this, but a lot of our marketing teams are trafficking teams. They give us a bunch of posters, a bunch of graphics, and then they say, go. But what can you do afterwards? So the question of segmentation, that's a tough one for all of us, whether or not your marketing team is tagging people in any way. So you can send out offers to people that segments them as family, Israeli, whatever it is. That way you have opportunities. One of the things is we're going to try this year is if you buy a ticket to the first family show of the year, we're going to give you for a limited time a 10% off the family show at the end of the year. So you can give that in the receipt, just say, here it is, here's your code. And that way the ticketing system is doing it. Hopefully we have a ticketing system that you can send it out. Ideally, honestly, personalization. Most of us put our email blast without Dear Pamela, and the strategies for marketing are that personalization is so much better than blanket email promotions. And then finally, I would say communicate within 24 hours if you can, with a survey and an offer and something. And those are some of the strategies I think that we're trying to do when we don't have a full marketing outreach post-show effort. But segmentation, for many of us that have big lists, we're missing that. So how do we segment audiences? How do we run reports that can appeal to specific people and tell them the next thing is coming?
Thank you. Pamela gave us some great segue into our breakout rooms, which is where we're going to go now. No, it's actually perfect, because there were so many great things to consider and discuss. And so thank you all again so much for this portion of the program. What we are going to do now is do something a teeny bit different than last time, because we did get some feedback from the group that you want to meet with your own peeps and you want to self-select a little. So we're going to see how this works. We have the following breakout rooms that Sawyer is going to put up, but you get to choose your room. So we know they won't come out exactly even. Some will have, but great. One is going to be, there will be a facilitator in each of the rooms. So you'll get to spend more time with one of our panelists, with me, with Randy, who, by the way, also left some very helpful comments in the chat. So keep the chat as a resource, because it's really great. Your choices today, and this is, we know you wear many, many hats, and you're going to be like torn and want to choose 5 of them, but it's only where you're spending the next 15 to 16 minutes. So just whatever you're feeling at the moment. They are going to be film festival in person. They are going to be film hybrid and virtual. One category will be author and literary events. One will be chef and culinary arts. One will be performing arts, which is music, theater, and dance. One is family programming, and a speaker series. So we have 7 breakout rooms. I am going, oh, thank you, Amy, for putting those in. I'm also going to paste in, unless you have it up, Amy, our instructions for the breakout group. Oh, people already chose breakout groups. Did that already happen? Okay. Oh, sorry,
How?
they're just, oh, you went undone. Sorry. So they are to select a note taker from your group, have each member introduce themselves and share something that they have found successful with audience building. A tip, just like we heard from Pamela at the end there. If there is time, and you will get a 5-minute warning, we're going to be in these groups for about 15 minutes. Have one member put forth an upcoming program or series that you can case study as a group, and then come back with just 2 bullet points, 2 action items that might help with audience development that one of the members of your group is willing to share out. And we'll come back and hear all those ideas together. And now it's time to choose our groups.
How?
I don't
So you should
No.
see something at
Oh,
the
yeah.
bottom of your screen now that says breakout rooms. You can click on that and you're going to see the 7 options, and you'll hit join by the group that you want to join. If you don't have an updated version of Zoom, and if you don't see this, if you'll just put in the chat, and maybe Sawyer or Joy could move you into the room. So if you don't see that option, just open your chat and say what room you want to go in, and they will move you there.
Perfect, Amy. Yes, it's just about scrolling down until you see the options. Okay, I'll see you all back.
Welcome back. We'll give everyone just a minute to come back.
When you come back, please put yourselves back on mute so that we don't hear any of the background noise as well.
That was so fast. We had so many things to talk about. I hope your rooms were equally filled. That was fantastic.
So it looks like we have everyone back. Welcome back, everyone. We would love to hear from our different breakout groups, to hear what your action items were that you identified from your case study. We'll ask each group to be brief in their remarks, about a minute each, and only share the 2 action items, unless specifics of the case study are really needed to better understand the action items. You don't need to share much about the program itself. So let's start with our film festival in-person group.
Hi, everyone. I'm Randy Zucker from the JCC in Central New Jersey. We had a vibrant discussion about in-person films and basically how to create new strategies for audience engagement. We heard from a couple of directors who talked about creating layered experiences that are multi-layered with film or music or a speaker, food, to create more immersive experiences. We talked about being emotionally engaging and appealing to kind of changing the language to focus on community and connection and engagement, and having those words be front and center before we talk about the what it is, before the film or the name of the author. It's about the people and the emotions and the connections that occur from being together in person. Did I miss anything, Pamela?
That was fabulous. Good job.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And thank you to that group. Okay, let's go to our author and literary events group.
Hi. Sorry, we didn't totally follow the directions, but I will tell you what came out of it. Lots and lots of stuff about partnership, and we shared ideas about some of what those look like and how those helped a lot. We talked about interdisciplinary programs and combining that and the benefits of that. Some people talked about that they're doing half live, half virtual. Some people said that it's all live. Some shared that this was a very limited book festival. I think one of us in the group was only having one author, but they were partnering with the local library, which made it no cost and was, allowed for them to have lots of people. At the very end, we talked about the importance of moderators and perhaps bringing in local people. We are very fortunate that we have a community member who is actually one of the JVC authors, Deborah Kalb, who moderates a lot of our programs, and her name in and of itself gets people. So
and two other quick things from our group in terms of action items, if I may.
sorry, Phil.
One is, no, thank you, Marcy. One is reaching out to book clubs and really trying to garner audience share that way in addition to partnerships. And the second is building committee. One person mentioned that they've gotten younger committee members and they're hoping to broaden their audience share that way, and that our committee members are our best cheerleaders and fans. So those were two action items.
Great, thank you both very much. Our next group is our chef and culinary arts group, and in my group, we talked about the importance of following up with people afterwards. We talked about the grassroots piece of it, of engaging a committee and using that group to really like be your cheerleaders and be the people that are attending your events and promoting them. And like what was talked about in the panel of, you know, finding people who have attended similar events and reaching out to those people. And just the struggle with the last minute nature of how everyone works and that constant like panic that we all have a few days before our events when not that many people are coming. And then the day before we realize that everyone's just been waiting to buy tickets to the last minute. So talking through some of those pieces. Next group is our performing arts group.
I'm going to ask Yael to share out from her case study.
Thanks, Randy. So it's a documentary screening that we have September 28th, so right around the high holidays time, and it's about ultra-Orthodox women running for office. And the feedback that I got was really helpful, which is going to groups, not only the usual suspects, women's groups, not necessarily Jewish, but women's groups. We're in DC, so there are lots of NGOs, Israelis, IAC, Israelis might be interested in this, teens, and also pairing it with a call to action. You know, that could be a fantastic way. Randy mentioned that, so that's not just coming to see the film, but that you actually have a call to action. And in this case, it could be get out the vote. So those were all ways that I think will help with audience building during high holiday season.
Great, thank you. Okay, now going to our last group, the speaker series group.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't know how we got so many brilliant people in one group, but it was fabulous. Just a couple bullet points that came up. First of all, there was the point that physical marketing is not dead. That especially if you're dealing with older adults, flyers are very, very valuable. Someone else mentioned that postcards and flyers are things that they've used. We talked a little bit more about partnerships and the fact that it's got to be a personal partnership, that personal outreach is very important, personal touch to people, face to face. One person mentioned that you have to greet everybody, welcome everybody with a gentle smile, which is actually indirectly from Pirkei Avot in the Talmud, because you just don't know who is going to have a powerful impact on your audience building. Somebody else spoke specifically about partnerships with influencers, which I found very, very important, and that you could tie giveaways and so forth with that. So those are some of the bullet points from our group.
Thank you, Lev. Did we get all the groups? I know a few of them didn't have people. Okay, great. And Kimberly put this in the chat, but to all of our note takers, if you would email your notes with your group's name to Kimberly, which is kgordon@pjcc.org, and that's in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay, I am going to pass it over to Kimberly.
Just a quick thank you all, just to every single person who participated today. So that included our panelists, everybody at JCCA that helped guide us, partnering with Amy, and every person who participated in a breakout room and came today. It was a great, wonderful hour. And I just love being in your company. I'm going to do a save.
Oop, wait. You're muting. You're muting.
Kimberly,
I pressed the wrong button because I was pressing the save the date into the chat and pressed mute. So the save the date for our next session is going to be Thursday, November 30th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So kind of same day, same time. We are going to move off of that because we know it doesn't work for everybody, but this time of year it did work. And what I'm going to do now is send it over to Randy because she's got some JCCA updates for us.
Just two quick things. And also I'm super excited to see everybody, new faces and old. You are doing the work. One in particular, take a look at the program brief. I want to draw your attention to the PAIR Fellowship, the Martin Pear Israel Fellowship, which we are running through JCCA. A few of your colleagues have endorsed it because they're in the middle of it. There are 2 information calls, one on September 12th, one on October 4th. Check it out. We can send the information out to you again. It's an 18-month cohort, and it is a transformative community building experience that I think will be incredibly helpful and wonderful for those people who are a part of it. And I selfishly want to make sure we have some arts and culture people represented because we know you are the connective tissue for your communities, and we need to understand how to work together across all of our different departments. So that's number one. And number two, as a final, I just want to say, as you look ahead at your holidays, I'm going to once again remind everybody that JFest Story Machine, which is jfeststorymachine.org, all one word, maybe Joy, you can throw that into the chat, is up and running. And we're very excited and hopefully looking forward to getting some fall harvest stories through Sukkot and through the high holidays. As you work with your teams, as you're doing committee work, if you're looking for an icebreaker, as you come back from your holidays and you begin sharing your stories, put your voices and your community voices into the machine and make sure that your voices are reflected. We have a diverse set of stories. Take a look at the digital library. You'll see it's amazing. And that's what I wanted to share.
Till next time, we'll see you on November 30th.
Thank you all very much.
Bye. Early
everybody.
to everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Kimberly and Amy and everybody.
Thanks to everybody.